Welcome to a special edition of The Low Blow. I am Jorge Hernandez, joined by Will McClary. How you doing, Will?
Hey, what's going on, Jorge?
Look at us, man. We're playing music. We're jamming out while Justin's not here.
That's the way I like to make the intro right there, man.
All right, let us get rid of some housekeeping stuff out of the way. We can be reached at The Low Blow on Twitter. We're also on The Low Blow Boxing MMA podcast on Facebook. Please like our page. And, of course, we're always on U.S. Combat Sports with articles, or our podcast is actually on there. To start off the show, we actually have a guest today. He's a writer for Comcast SportsNet Bay Area, BoxingScene.com, member of the Boxing Writers Association of America and the Ring Magazine Ratings Advisory Panel, and probably WWF Intercontinental Champion, Ryan Maquiñana. You're doing it everything, man.
How you doing, guys?
Pretty good. You're a busy man. How you doing?
Great. I heard the intro, man. I'm a big hip-hop guy. Playing that Pete Rock took me back.
Pete Rock is smooth. That's honestly my favorite hip-hop song of all time, to be honest.
Yeah, we don't mess around with the low blow, man.
Yeah, so, I mean, to start off the show, you were originally supposed to join us to preview, I guess, one of the most anticipated matches of the year between Robert Guerrero and Marcos Maidana. We just found out that Guerrero suffered a partial tear to his left rotator cuff, an injury that will probably sideline him a couple of months. So, besides that, do you know any more?
Well, it's funny you should mention that. I just spoke to his publicist, Marta Serrano, and basically Robert's going to go on the record with me and probably everybody else tomorrow as far as the extent of the injury, how long he's going to be out. It's just really unfortunate for Robert just because, this was supposed to be his coming out party. It was a hometown fight. He's from Gilroy, which is right, stone's throw away from Atrium Pavilion in San Jose. And, it was his first fight at 140. He's been trying to make a play for years at some fights against, elite guys and some big paydays. And this was going to be the bridge to that. Marcos Maidana is no joke, but at the same time, Robert was really looking forward to that fight. And it's unfortunate, but hey, it's boxing.
So, Ryan, how disappointed were you when that fight got canceled?
Excuse me, can you repeat that, Will?
Yeah, how disappointed were you when that fight got canceled? I mean, how big do you think this fight was for boxing, and especially with Maidana coming back off of the loss to American? What do you think this does for him?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it was disappointing on so many levels. First of all, you're going to have to go with the Bay Area angle just because, over here, San Francisco, Oakland, San Jose, this area, it's kind of enjoying a resurgence. And this fight was kind of going to act like a referendum as far as the popularity of the sport with Andre Ward and Nito Donaire. This fight was pretty much going to act as kind of to continue the momentum that was going on here, with the local boxing scene. As far as the whole big picture, it's tough because I felt like this fight was going to help close a lot of loopholes. You have so many fans and hardcore enthusiasts talk about the the lineal champ and who's the real champ, and the WBA with their 835 different belts that they hand out. This was going to be a fight that was going to award a quote unquote regular champion, which let's be real, was basically an interim belt, and that winner was supposedly going to be Amir Khan's mandatory. And especially with all the talk of who's the real champ and this and that, with Timothy Bradley out of the picture, you could have very well be seeing, you very well could have been seeing some loopholes as far as who the real champ was being closed there. But that's something we probably won't get to see for a while, if at all.
It's the hardcore and the pretty casual boxing fan that really knows the skill that Robert Guerrero possesses. Do you think this was actually his coming out party? He was finally the main event there on HBO. How do you feel about that?
Absolutely. Robert just poses so many problems with his length, being southpaw. Maidana, let's not take anything away from him. He gave Amir Khan all he could handle. I mean, he made Victor Ortiz quit. This was the perfect litmus test for Robert to see how he could hack it at 140 and possibly above. As far as how I felt the fight would go, I'm just a writer. I'm not a fortune teller, but I can't say how I felt it was going to go. Maidana was going to come forward like a bull, like the resilient guy he is, and being able to take anything that Robert could throw. But I was hoping to see that Robert being able to fight in spurts, using his boxing ability, but fighting on the inside when he had to. I was, if I had to make a prediction, I was going to see Robert winning a close, competitive but clear decision. So yeah, I thought it was definitely going to be a coming out party.
That's what we like to hear, man. I would predict that Guerrero would probably be able to utilize his length, maybe possibly a little bit better than American. But I was going to ask as well, Ryan, if they are able to, get this fight back on track, when do you predict that it'll happen? Because now, supposedly, Maidana is going to be fighting in Argentina around September 13th against an opponent that we do not know. So if they are able to get this fight back on track, do you still think it's going to have the notoriety that it possesses right now, or as I should say, it did possess before it got canceled?
Yeah, it's tough to say because, first of all, I think the first question is when. The longer Robert stays on the shelf, the more it hurts his momentum, the more buzz that's going to disintegrate as far as the fight being big. You never know if Marcos is going to stay at 140 past the year. You never know. I mean, these are just a lot of issues that have really derailed what I was expecting to be some nice, tidy house cleaning at 140 for one way or another. So I really couldn't tell you how I think it would have affected or how things would be if they made the fight. But I guess long story short, if they let's just pretend that they did reconstruct this fight for, say, I don't know, next spring. It's hard to tell because with the alphabet soup, who knows if Tim Bradley goes up to 147. Amir Khan, in my conversations with Richard Schaefer, he was pretty adamant that Amir was going to fight one more time in December at 140 and then make his debut at 147 in England in the spring. So, it's tough to say, but maybe, at one end might be, the silver lining might be that Robert might enter a picture at 140 that's a lot less tougher, So.
Let's talk a little bit about your work on Comcast SportsNet Bay Area, and also your website, macdown.com. I mean, you have some pretty interesting things on there with boxing and just sports in general as well.
Oh, yeah, thanks a lot. Macdown.com, my last name, it's kind of a play of words on my last name, Maquiñana. That's MAQ.com. I try to cover the local scene as much as I can, especially based on what I did as far as the local scene, rising up again. Well, one thing that we've been able to institute, I got some local writers together, and we put together the first ever Northern California pound-for-pound top 10 list. That's something that we feel will not only give the local fighters the recognition they deserve, but at the same time, kind of alert the fans to who who's out there writing about these guys as well. So. We talk about everything. We have a little bit of baseball, a little bit of basketball, football, local coverage there too, but it's mainly boxing. So that, and combined with my work on Comcast SportsNet Bay Area, if you guys are out there, any local fans, you can watch me on Comcast SportsNet TV tomorrow at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific time, where I will be on Chronicle Live. It's our local talk show, where I'll be joined by Andre Ward and his promoter, Dan Goose.
So I got to ask, Ryan, so who's your favorite fighter from the Bay Area and why?
It's hard to say. I don't want to be biased and lean toward a specific fighter. There's so many great stories and so many great fighters in the region. It's I couldn't really give you one, but excuse me. But you have your Nonito Donairs, your Andre Wards, your Robert Guerreros. You have even a female fighter like Anna Houghton. It's the first time we've ever had 4 world champions, in the Bay Area at one time. And then you've got your up and coming guys like Eloy Perez, Kareem Mayfield, Brandon Gonzalez. It's tough to say because I'm around these guys so much, and I don't want to play favorite. it's got its stuff to do.
And I saw Donaire like right up on the top of the list here, and I want to ask you: do you think Donaire has the possibility of reaching the popularity as Manny Pacquiao, and how long do you think it's going to take for him to really display his skills in terms of getting into his prime?
Great question, Will. You can never say never, but as far as being in the lower weight classes like he is at, starting at 112, going through 15 and 18, and it looks like he might be on the road to 22 by the spring. It's tough because as far as popularity, number one, Manny's got that amazing story of coming from nothing, from a third world country, and but not only that, the fact that Manny started around 108, that same lower weight class region. The difference is that Manny, number one, had the capacity to move into 140, 135, 140, 147 at the same time. He had all these Mexican iconic fighters around him during that time. And then let's not mention the Oscar De La Hoya fight, which pretty much afforded Manny household name crossover status. So for Benito, for him to reach that level, he's number one, he's going to have those type of Hall of Fame iconic household names around him to match up with, and he's got to look impressive against them. And then the second thing is, he's in that lower weight class region, and it's hard sometimes it's tough for the casual fan to relate to a guy like that. But I mean, no doubt about it, Benito's got the skills to definitely be one of the all-time greats.
I had a question specifically about you as an advisor on the Ring magazine ratings. How do you actually go about that? And throwing Floyd Mayweather on the mix, how does your top three actually round out?
If you're talking about the pound for pound list,
pound
or are you talking
pound for pound, exactly, yeah, pound for pound.
Okay. Well, as far as the pound for pound list, I don't generally advise on that. That's more so the editorial board. But as far as the divisional ratings, welterweight, heavyweight, cruiserweight, I basically offer suggestions on where I think certain guys should go or if they should be dropped because they're not in certain divisions. But as far as my personal pound for pound list, I agree with the Ring magazine that right now I can't put Floyd in there because he hasn't fought in over a year. Theoretically, right now, I agree. I think I have with the Ring. I have it Manny number one, Sergio number two. But as far as when Floyd gets back to fighting, once he fights Victor Ortiz, and if he wins, you have to keep his body of work and his skills and his recent opposition. Obviously, the number two welterweight in the world beating him. I mean, it's got to vault Floyd right up to number two again. So, but as far as my personal three, I got a Manny number one, Sergio number two, and yeah, I'd probably have to say, Benito, I'll bring up number three. Not a strong number three, but definitely up there, number three.
And it's